Yeah, like I was saying, like it was all mental. It's all mental. Like it's a lot of it's just mental hurdles you got to get over. Like
Yeah.
once I got over myself, I was like, yo, I know I could just put out a video, you know what I'm saying, and just see what it is. Let me see where it go. And then just put out another
No,
one, just put out another
100%.
one, put out another one. Yeah, people gonna see me. You know what I'm saying? But it's like
Let them
this
see you. Yeah.
business. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Of course I
Nah,
want people to see me, you know what I'm saying? And say hi in the process. But peace,
I like
peace, peace to everybody, fam. I'm taking 15. We at it again, episode 4. We got episode 4 with my dude Quentin, fam. Quentin, how are you, fam? How are you?
Again, my usual answer to this is blessed. I'm truly blessed. God has put His hand over me, watched
Hmm.
over me for quite some time now, and so I'm just grateful in life right now. I'm doing really good in terms of just mental spaces, growth spaces, relationships. Things are just coming together the way they should, and I'm finding the opportunities like this to take it and say thank you to God, but also say thank you to the people that He's connected me to, like yourself. And so I'm in a really good space, working hard on just developments, working a few projects, working with the right people. I find myself back around some of our old crew in Piscataway. So just trying to, generate the best out of those opportunities. But like I said, outside of opportunities, outside of everything else, blessed, bro.
No, that's dope. That's dope. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we could take it there because a lot of people is like, what do you even talk about when you say Piscataway? How far do we go back? How far do we go back? Because it's 2026.
2026, and we left that school in '05, my friend, which
Crazy,
is
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, it's
You talking
insane
about
to
over
think
two
about.
decades ago, fam. Over 2 decades
I
ago.
mean,
Yeah,
but
which is cool.
we're grateful. We're blessed to be here still and doing what you're doing now, which is taking the liberty to communicate with those from that era is important. And so I just thought it was a great honor to be on here and have this conversation with you. Take a quick little 15 to share what I've got going on in my world, but hear a lot of, just from the previous episodes, seeing what everybody else got going on and seeing the progressions of what Piscataway has produced in that 2 decades has been amazing, my friend.
Nah, that's
So
dope. That is dope. That is dope. So yeah, we go back over 2 decades ago, but
yeah.
what's up now? What's your passion now? Like, you know, I see you always been into like the arts, just like we have and stuff like that, and the music and everything. Like what are you passionate about right now?
My passions are pretty still prevalent in terms of art, music. Those are still at home to my heart. What I've developed a deeper understanding because of life in itself is that, relationships hold all this together. And so one of the biggest focuses I'm into now is just taking resources and kind of developing opportunities that strengthen the efforts that are being put out. And that sounds a little general, but I say it in terms of just again connecting to the right resources. Coming back to Piscataway again, went after high school. I don't know if you know, I went to school in South Carolina, went to
Oh,
university,
okay. That must
traveled a
have been a
lot of
culture shock
places.
going to South Carolina.
It was a balance. My mother's from the South, so I spent a
Okay,
lot of
okay.
summers in South Carolina. But now living there was a culture shock. I ain't gonna lie. That
Uh-huh.
that
Uh-huh.
changed my mindset a lot. But that was a great experience. Went from there. I lived in Washington D.C. Just did a lot of bouncing around in that time. In the last 2 decades, became a father. Got a
Mm.
daughter who'll be 13 this year. So it's like the life turns started to happen. But in terms of my general interest and my where I place my focuses, they've been consistent. Music had became a huge thing for me after high school, college era. Started a
Mhm.
distribution label, got involved with a lot of marketing and promotions. um, of course, event promotions, but then it developed into like real brand management style stuff, which
Mhm.
introduced us into the distribution. I worked with a good friend of ours from Piscataway High, Tafiq Martins. He was
Oh,
literally my
okay.
right
Okay.
hand. Yeah, so
Shout
Tafiq
out
was
to
my
Tafik.
right
Shout
hand to
out to
start.
Tafik.
Yeah, shouts out to my boy Feek out here. But
Yeah.
we just did a lot with that. Had great opportunities in Harlem and New York and traveling different cities and states. Just mixing with artists, mixing with talent. got talent from all over the place. And so we had that opportunity that grown into more of event development, trying to produce, experiences. I eventually got into philanthropy through a good friend of mine's, Kels Barnett out of Harlem. He introduced me to the Take Care program that he was producing. This is easily over 12 years ago. And so he asked me, to
Mm.
take that concept and bring it to Jersey somehow. And so we started the concept of Take Care of Newark, which was focused on just that. We were trying to take care of Newark however we could, from feeding to clothing, working with different organizations within the community to try to see what we can do to aid them. Shouts out to Joy's Angels out of East Orange. They did a lot of help with them, where they do focused on housing and helping people redevelop their lifestyles, which has been a great aid, not just to, myself or, close family, but just to many of people. So just focused on really understanding that portion of who I am. And I grew up in church and grew up with a grandfather who was a pastor. So service is a part of just my DNA. It's who I am. It's one of my focuses in life. Period. It's just to figure out how to cater to the masses,
Mhm.
whether it's just bringing them together so they can do things together, or if it's just like helping someone directly with something they need. And so I still take great pride in that. And it brought a full circle moment last year where I had the great honor to work with a few more of our friends from Piscataway, Rolanda Johnson. Her and her husband, they started a brilliant company alongside Malcolm Jenkins, Brian Hines,
That's
a
dope.
few more, yeah, a few more names that I hope to see on your segment soon, because they've all collectively started building something that was just unstoppable. And it's called Disrupt.
Mhm.
If you can look at my little back there, I'm in the office now.
Yeah,
Disrupt
yeah, yeah,
Foods is
yeah. You got what's that in the background?
it's Disrupt Foods. That's their logo right there. It's got a
Okay.
glare on it, so you're not gonna see it great. But
Okay.
I'll definitely send you the info. Tap them people too, because what their focus is basically taking the resources that are from our general location, Piscataway, and connecting the dots, making it a full circle foundation for just any level of growth. Disrupt Foods itself is focused more towards the food market. They focus on they work with different companies like Papa John's, Wingstops. They franchising is really what their focus is with Disrupt Foods. They've done very well for themselves. I'm close to like 20 some odd Papa John's, several Wingstops. I mean, they're not playing. They're doing it correctly. And so that has ventured into more ventures. You got Broad Street Ventures, you got Pleasant Rock, which is focused on real estate and development. You got Malcolm Inc., which is of course focused on philanthropy and athletic sports development. Brian and Malcolm just were on Bloomberg to talk about their joint venture, which is Pleasant Rock, that's going to focus towards sports related investments and real estate developments. So
Mm.
it's just a lot of coinciding activities happening. But I again had the honor to work with all of them last year, um, when they did the feeding in Newark for History in the Baking, where we fed over 5,000 kids. We're trying to break the world record for the largest pizza party.
Oh,
So
that's
we took over.
dope. That's dope. So you did that
Yeah,
in Newark?
yeah, did at the Prudential Center in Newark.
Okay.
Had artists like Zeddy Will there. There was a New Jersey-based artist called The Artist. She was there. I mean, DJ Wala, of course,
That's
Jersey
dope.
namesakes, DJ Unicorn. So it's like we had some great synergy, a great experience overall. Like I said, we had 5,000 kids fed. So that was a big thing for us last year, and we plan on replicating it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen in 2026, but we do have plans for the future, to really beat that record and to keep this action going. In terms of just always finding out ways to give back to the community. I think that's very important to everybody involved. We grew up in such a brilliant community in Piscataway. Piscataway, for those who don't
Agreed.
know, Piscataway is a brilliant community of people who
Hmm.
intellectual talent, just athletes. There's so many things produced out of Piscataway.
It's like a
So
melting pot. It was like a melting pot of like, a lot
it
of
really
different
was.
talent.
It was almost. I tell people all the time, it was like living in 90210, like a television show almost. Like it's just so many different
Yeah.
components. that you got to get witness to. I was born and raised in East Orange, which is predominantly black, so I loved it. East Orange, shouts out to East Orange every day. But
Hmm.
Piscataway opened my palette up to other cultures, other concepts of community, and then overall just a different space of how to develop and how to work together. And so very grateful for those opportunities. And so my focus is now still stem with those relationships, is kind of building better with those products, trying to aid in any way I can when it comes to the components that are connected. And then naturally, I have my own products, GoodGarbs.com, which is a website dedicated to just a lifestyle brand, if you would say. But I focus it towards music, art, fashion, anything that drew natural interest to me. But it's usually in relation to high fashion, high lifestyle.
Hmm.
That's just my personal preference. If I'm gonna go do it, I like it to be fancy. I like to, I mean, be a little lavish. And so it's been a great experience though. It's let me garner brilliant relationships with multiple brands across the globe, working with brands like Art Basel to, New Balance to, just anything. I've worked with different music artists from, I was at Nick Cannon's when he had his growing tour going. I was able to visit stuff like that. Chain smokers back in the day, just a lot of different. I can go on for hours about all of what I've been able to be exposed to with the brand. So my focus now is just generating in-house product, not just in terms of tangible things to like put on and stuff, but actually like in-house experiences, trying to throw larger experiences, trying to get to that festival level at some point soon. And so it's just those general natural progressions, but it's been a blessing to be able to do it. And to see it growing is really where I'm in the process of, but I'm letting God handle the most of it. I'm just doing the footwork wherever I need to put my feet at. I'm showing up there.
That is dope, man. That is dope.
Yeah,
That is 1,000%, on cue with just your brand and everything. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like the
appreciate that.
conversations we had in the past, years ago and stuff like that are just like just on brand. It's on cue. So, big ups to you, for following through, and still
I
doing the work.
appreciate it.
So,
Appreciate it.
um, what um what do you what do you realize for the future needs to be done? What do you realize for the future needs to be done, not just on your end, but just overall? Like, how can we get to a better space? You know, is it creativity? Is it a lot of creativity that just needs to just be more implemented into what we got going on in society, or what is it?
I mean, I think what even working with Disrupt has shown me is that the biggest piece of all of this is community, is consideration of the next person. I think we can create great products if we always consider each other. It becomes a little, and I've had this personally happen with myself, is just choosing what I want and seeing things the way I want it. And I've seen the rise and the fall of that very quickly. I think the most sustainable actions that I've been a part of have been things that are communal, things that have revolved around others inclusively and making sure that what what you're building now, me not just praising it on Instagram, but me showing up and being a person that you
Hmm.
get to interview. Then after that, supporting every person you interview after that. And then if I can find a space to create that helps benefit this 15 minutes, offering that up and always seeing a space for others to grow. I think in 20 years, we've had enough time to do personal growth. Now it's communal growth that we should be really focused on. Between the ages of 40 to 60, you got to consider what you're leaving behind, and I think that's the space that we're at, where it's like, all right, we jumped through what we wanted to do. Now, what are we going to leave? What are these kids going to have to call a foundation? And again, I grew up in a church environment. My grandfather was a pastor, father a pastor. So that's always been legacy has always been a conversation piece. And I think now legacy looks more like an entire community figuring out what we're passing on. And so I think that's the biggest piece. I think we're creative enough. I think we're smart enough. I think we have enough resource now. And so it's really just about saying to each other, hey, these are the things and dreams I have. Where where can I include y'all? How do I make y'all a part of that? And I think that's going to grow everybody's availability that much higher.
Man, I was about to ask you, like, what advice do you have? But you kind of like you kind of like jumbled it all in there. You know what I'm saying? Like you
And
because you hit it on the head with like legacy, man. Like, you want to leave behind. It's like I always say, like, you're born one year, you die another year, but that marker in between is like your legacy. That marker in
yeah.
between, on the tombstone. So now you hit it on the head, fam. You hit it on the head. Well, listen. That's all the time we had. That's all the time we had.
Oh,
Just quick,
the
quick
15 go
conversation. Yeah,
quick.
15.
Yeah.
When I say 15, it's really 15 minutes. So,
15. I
but
like it. I like
I
it.
I appreciate, catching up with you and you giving
Always,
your
always.
insight on what you do, what you got going on and what you continue to do, into the future and how you plan to progress and the endeavors. And I wish you well on everything that you're doing, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Listen, if you want to connect with the guests, if you want to connect with Q, Quentin, go to the description and we'll have his information there. Definitely connect with him. It's a good brother. Yeah, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
D, before I go, just want to say, super proud of you, man. You're doing great work.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it, fam. That's love. That's
Proud of
love.
you, man. For real.